Now back to Inside West Virginia Politics with Mark Curtis.
And welcome back to Inside West Virginia Politics. We continue our profile of the Congressional District 2 here in West Virginia. Congressman Alex Mooney, the Republican opponent, is joining us. We'll hear from his Democratic challenger, Tally Sargent, in the last half of the show today. Congressman, look, it's no surprise Democrats have been hammering you for 4 years. Your opponent is criticizing you again for being from Maryland, and she said in her ad, Alex Mooney is not from here. She's questioning, your roots in West Virginia. Answer it.
Well, I've been doing this job for 4 years now, and I would encourage people to judge me by my conservative voting record. I am a proud West Virginian. I own a home here, and I live with my wife and 3 kids, and I represent the 17 counties in the 2nd District, and I think I represent them well. And I will continue to fight for every West Virginian. Frankly, whether you vote for me or not, whether you're Republican or Democrat, as your representative, I try to be accessible. We may not agree on every issue. Certainly my opponent, Tally Sargent, and I disagree on most issues. She's extremely liberal. I'm a conservative. So rather than talking about the issues, she'd like to try to make it personal. I think West Virginia voters deserve an issue-based campaign, not these baseless personal attacks. So I'm happy to talk about the issues and talk about where I stand. And every 2 years, the voters get a chance to return me to office or elect somebody else.
Well, let's talk about one of those issues where the two of you differ sharply, and that's on the Affordable Care Act and coverage for pre-existing conditions. You voted to repeal the Affordable Care Act. It passed the House but failed in the Senate in Washington, D.C. If you go back to Washington, are you going to make another effort to get rid of what's known as Obamacare, and if so, why?
Yes, I do think we need to repeal and replace Obamacare. One of my bigger disappointments is that we were not able to tackle that health care issue in these past 2 years. And when it failed by 1 vote on the Senate side, everyone saw that famous vote over there. Look, the health care is a very complicated issue, but the way that this bill was set up, it could not succeed because you had it where people could get off of health care and could join at any point. So folks were not buying the health care because it was too expensive. And then if they had a condition, if they got sick, then they'd get the health care. Well, costs are skyrocketing. Even today, the costs are much too high, and people can't afford it. So we need to repeal it and replace it with something that'll work to get the premiums down for everybody. That's the goal for the Republicans, get the premiums down and make it affordable. Return the choices to you, what kind of plan you want, what's best for you and your family. My opponent wants this Medicare for all, government takeover. That's the goal. That's the real goal here. First is Obamacare, then they want a complete government takeover of health care. They've wanted that for a long time. That's going to cost, the studies I've seen, something like $30 trillion. It'll bankrupt our country. It is not a good policy to have the government take over the health care system like my opponent wants.
Your opponent
it would be irresponsible, frankly. So the only option is to replace Obamacare with something that'll work.
Okay, well, what about pre-existing conditions? Because your opponent, Senator Manchin, many Democrats are saying that upwards of 800,000 West Virginians who have pre-existing conditions like diabetes are going to lose their health care coverage. How do you protect them? Well, sure. The truth of the matter, the bill I voted on protected pre-existing conditions as long as you maintained your health care. We didn't want people gaming the system. So people were getting off, then if they got a condition, they'd try to get back on. So sick people were getting on, healthy people were getting off. So our bill said as long as you maintain health care consistently, you didn't go more than, it was 6 months, I'm pretty sure, in the bill I voted on. As long as you didn't go more than 6 months without health care, you were guaranteed to get health care even if you had a pre-existing condition. So the attacks my opponent are making are false. We protected pre-existing conditions. Our bill simply said that if you were off for more than 6 months, you still got health care, but you could be charged up to 30% more because it is more expensive. And you chose to not have health care. People were not having health care for years and then getting on if they got sick. They were gaming the system, and that's not right. So the attack is not accurate. We protected pre-existing conditions, and we tried to make health care more affordable for everybody, whether you had a pre-existing condition or not. It's too expensive. I'm under Obamacare myself as a federal employee, as a congressman, and I've seen it. People everywhere I go in West Virginia say it's too expensive. We need to make it fair for everybody. Congressman, we're down to about 40 seconds. Make your pitch. Why should people choose Alex Mooney again over Tally Sargent? Give us your pitch.
Well, if you like what you see under President Trump with a booming economy, fighting for conservative values, putting America's interests first internationally, I ask you to return me so I can continue to support President Donald Trump in his efforts to make government more restrained, smaller, and get our economy, keep our economy booming, and restore your freedoms.
All right, Congressman Alex Mooney, Republican from the 2nd District of West Virginia. Thanks for joining us this week. Up next on Inside West Virginia Politics, we're going to hear from Congressman Mooney.